Thanks for inviting me. 2 slides about the company and the rest about machine learning. Global company, about 300 people spread across the globe. Main business is delivering custom observing systems. Over the years, we see that people who need custom observing systems shift from ad exchanges and the likes, very specialized, very ad tech, to people like advertisers, like typical brands. They are now interested in having these capabilities, and that's the evolution we evolved in. Most of the systems do contain machine learning, as I will explain in a second. Two main products. One is the set of frameworks to make it very easy for us and very quick for us to build a custom observing system. And the second one is a piece of infrastructure for real-time bidding. This second one, BidSwitch, is actually an interesting exercise in data science. It needs to process around about 200 billion requests every day. It generates about 100 terabytes of data every day. We struggle to understand what we need to do with this data. But never mind. So, traditional AI-assisted process applied to business looks like a loop, but it's a loop with a circuit breaker. So you have data, you have some artificial intelligence layer. This generates insights, trends, recommendations, whatever. And then there is a human, a decision maker, which processes the insights and then makes a decision. This decision modifies the business process. Now, it's kind of all right. It's safe, it's stable, it's predictable. What's not all right, it's slow. A lot of power which artificial intelligence can bring to the table is actually blocked by the human layer. It's also expensive. I mean, as many speakers before me explained, a lot of money goes into making this communication with human efficient. So what about cutting the human altogether? What about getting a car to drive itself with humans just enjoying themselves and doing nothing? Or in the context of this business, of this loop, why can't I close the loop? Why can't I go from the data pool to machine learning, straight to modify my business process, and then back to the data? Now, humans will sit on the side, they'll need to do something, they absolutely need to fix it when it's broken, but ultimately, it looks like I can do much faster, I can work much more efficient this way, at least in some areas. So, very conceptually, the assisted process, the process which works for most industries, would be okay because it's safe and because as long as I apply it in known waters where everyone understands what to do. And then the one which is absolutely closed loop machine, it probably will be much quicker, it probably will respond to new threats, especially if you don't know where threats are coming from. So that's the theory. Obviously, those systems will work in a different way, will need different data sets. Okay, now marketing. Why marketing? Well, if you think about this idea that you want machines to learn from its own mistakes, then it's kind of, it feels dangerous. You don't really want to try it in medicine. It's not a good idea that the machine makes a judgment and this judgment kills the person. It's not. I mean, we much prefer a human to make a genuine mistake and that kills the person. That's okay, but machines, not so much. Now, marketing is different. First of all, nobody is skilled, so we can go and give it a try. Second, it's actually wasteful by design. I mean, the famous saying is that half of the marketing dollars are wasted, I just don't know which half. Now, in digital marketing, we can actually measure now and we know that half of the ads are not even seen, so this idea that only half is wasted is probably significant over, it's too optimistic. So if that's the best which humans can do, then let's try to just give it to a machine, make it happen. The downside is relatively limited, upside would be huge. Let's give it a try. Now, to make it even more appealing, recently a ton of data, huge proprietary data sets were assembled by the advertisers. All this CRM data, all your touch points, all your visits to the website, they store it all. Now, they need to make some decision based on it, on pricing, on creative, on consumer insights. And these decisions will need to be made faster and faster, so humans are less and less able to cope. That means that applying machine learning looks like we're solving an interesting problem as well. Now, how fast those decisions need to be made in the recent 5 to 7 years, this went completely crazy with the invention of real-time bidding. The real-time bidding is an idea that when I need to show an ad to you in your app, instead of picking up and showing it, I actually go and talk in real time to about a few dozen participants who each bid what they want, how much they value this particular opportunity, and one will say like $2 million, $3 million, $7 million, I take the highest bid, and then I show this ad, the ad which is supplied with the highest bid. That takes about 200 milliseconds, so somebody somewhere needs to process billions of requests, hundreds of milliseconds time. You need a machine to do it. Now, why conceptually it's good for an advertiser? Because traditionally what happens, traditionally the advertiser goes and buys an ad in a newspaper or put a guaranteed ad on a website, and that means they pay $100 to access all this audience. Now, realistically, in this audience, some users are interesting and some other users are useless. So what real-time bidding allows you to do is basically to pick up only the good ones, and yes, you will bid differently for them, and this particular user in the left corner is $9 million per opportunity because they just been to your website, like literally seconds ago, and for some reason you're desperate to communicate again with this user. So that's the idea. Now, if you look behind the curtain, how it actually can possibly work, you have a supply, application or website, they send the bid, this bid is processed by demand partner, and they need to reply straight away. The only way they can do it is by building and looking up a model, a statistical model, which predicts the value of this particular opportunity, and this particular 7-1 can't possibly be accidental. And more generally, any big pile of data contains a ton of correlation, which is almost inevitably always is not causation, and you need business to help you work it out. What is what. Now, let's imagine you sort it all out. Let's imagine your business is your best friend. Let's imagine that you sorted out the data sets and this curse of dimensionality is slain and ruined. So, will it work for you now? Are you done? No, not really. And that's actually probably the biggest issue here, is that if you think about machines, the way we kind of describe them is that they are committed, they want to get the job done, they're not tired, they don't ask you questions. Now, combine this kind of features with the fact that they don't have principles or morality or fear. We just didn't code it, we didn't bother to put it all that. And you can see the recipe for things not going quite right. Now, how exactly it could happen, specifically in marketing? Well, let me clarify something. Machines are evil because they do exactly what you tell them, exactly, down to the last line of code. Now, we as human beings are actually very bad at explaining what exactly we want. Actually, so much so, we have an entire industry with lawyers and courts and company law, which the whole purpose of this industry is try to figure out what party A is meant to communicate to party B. It's all about this, right? So it's this type of industry which was involved around about 10 years ago in a cookie-stuffing court case between eBay and Shawn. Shawn operated an affiliate scheme. This affiliate scheme, according to eBay, he was paid to drive traffic to eBay site, and he was paid commission for all the products which were sold to people whom he drove. Now, technically, how it was identified is that they checked whether, at the moment of sale, a certain cookie was present in the browser. Now, what Shawn discovered, or what his company discovered, is that there are much easier way to drop this cookie into the browser. It's much easier than just bringing people to the site. So they've done it. They were operating for around about 3 years. eBay paid them about 28 million, which they claimed was all fraud. And, in this particular case, the affiliate company lost, and he went to jail and so on. Now, what they ultimately discovered is that making sure that certain cookies in a certain place is much easier done by stealing attribution rather than by doing the work. Now, will your machine learning engine work it out? Absolutely yes. It actually is a very poor engine if you can't work it out after half a dozen iterations. So the machine will know that the task which you set, namely get the person with a cookie in the right place, is much easier done the way that Shawn discovered it, by stealing attribution. Now, will this machine go to jail for this discovery? I mean, very, very unlikely. Will it be considered fraud? Probably no. Probably it will be considered a huge success, because all KPIs which you can measure will show that it certainly outperforms everybody. Now, how fast it will do it? Probably a few dozen iterations, so 3-4 days. And how much millions it will deliver in this strange value, unclear, depends on your scale and all that. So, to close the loop, there is a ton of value in running marketing in a closed loop AI. It's cheaper, it reacts to external things faster, and buys more efficient and all that. Now, whoever does it first will generate a ton of value. Now, the real competitive advantage, which comes from running those systems and from learning how to do this correctly, is not so much in the algorithms. Algorithms these days are being commoditized. Google released TensorFlow, open source, and all that. What's really valuable is the data, and this very process which extended your data set from this small and limited map to much bigger one, or once you start running the system in a closed loop, that's the process which generates most value for your company. So conceptually speaking, people who can travel the ocean and discover Americas, those people win over medium and long time. While doing this, please don't forget to very carefully look after what exactly your machine is doing, because like a human being, it will do exactly, unlike a human being, it will do exactly what you tell the machine, and it might be not exactly what you want. Yeah. Talk to us